So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining from. To all the attendees who have joined us today from around the world, I'm pleased to welcome everyone to the 69th UN Commission on the Status of Women virtual parallel session titled East African Women Telling Their Stories of Resilience in the Face of Adversity. Before we proceed, please note that the event is being recorded and that it will be later shared on social media platforms. Additionally, if you have any questions for our panelists, please type them in the chat box and then we can address them towards the end of the session as the time permits. I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Aditya Divya Singh, and I will be moderating the session today. I work at a university in India in the field of German and intercultural studies, multilingualism, and language pedagogy. And I have been associated with Servas International for many years now. So here I would like to briefly introduce Servas International to you. Established in 1949, it is a non-profit, non-governmental organization encompassing a network of hosts and travelers around the world with the purpose of helping build world peace, goodwill, and understanding by providing opportunities for personal contacts among people of different cultures, backgrounds, and nationalities. Servas Women, a body within Servas International, is dedicated to helping women and girls achieve their full potential by advocating their empowerment, equality, and the necessity of basic human rights, thereby attaining an equal voice in creating peaceful communities. One such example is Servas Women's work with the women of East African countries. As per a recent World Bank report, East African women and girls, while facing disadvantages in education and economic empowerment, as well as gender-based violence, have achieved impressive successes over the past decades. Today, we are joined by 10 very inspiring women from Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. So let us hear about their stories, their challenges, and their ideas on better opportunities for girls in the future. I would now like to invite the panelists to please introduce themselves. So first up, we have from Tanzania, Alice.
Yes, my name is Alice Marsha Malepo. I am a wife, a mother of 3 girls, and I reside in the northern part of Tanzania in the region called Arusha. I am currently not permanently employed, but I work online, virtually, and I'm also an advocate for women and children's rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Next up, we have Rema, also from Tanzania.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rehema Peter from Tanzania. I'm an environmental activist advocating for climate justice. I'm a founder of the local organization called Partnership for Green Future, through which we advocate for renewable energy and climate justice in general. I'm also a child to a family of 5 children and a mother of 5 as well. I live in Kibaha, a small town nearby Dar es Salaam. Thank you.
Thank you, Rema. Now I'd like to invite Rita from Kenya.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rita Omondi, an advocate for women education and education for the disadvantaged children. I'm located in Nairobi, Kenya, and currently I'm working. Thank you, and we shall have a further conversation in the next presentation.
Thanks, Rita. Valerie, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Valeria Kini from Kenya, and through my story of resilience, I encourage young girls on the importance of education, and I also teach them on the computer skills in the nearby community library, whereby I partner with the head of the community library to engage young girls on the importance of education, and I also teach them on hygienic measures. And at some point, I do distribute pads to the less fortunate girls.
Thank you, Valerie. Can we now have Brenda introduce herself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Brenda Alero. I am from Kenya, Nairobi. I am advocating for the rights of women in Kenya and in Nairobi and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Stephanie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Odero from Kenya, a mother of one. I advocate for women's mental health and menstrual hygiene. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So that was everyone from Kenya. Oh, I think I missed Rosalind. So yes, Rosalind, please.
She hasn't joined.
Okay, so then we move on to our participants from Uganda. I invite Prossey.
Hi everyone, my name is Prossey from Uganda. I've been a member for Service International for the last 14 years. I am a primary school teacher and I work with children, and I focus on creating safe learning environments for children and especially for the girls. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Prossey. May I please call Maggie now?
My name is Margrate Ntambi. Maggie in short form. I'm a service member in Uganda and an advocate for underprivileged women and girl child. I specifically encourage young girls and underprivileged women the importance of perseverance. I also offer counseling services and skilling, specifically tailoring and hairdressing. So I live in a small city in Kampala called Kitagobwa, located in Wakiso district, Uganda. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And that brings us to Tina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christine Nachuja from Uganda. I'm an artist by profession, specializing in graphic designing and web designing, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you once again to all our speakers. And now we will move on to their individual presentations, where we will get to hear about their wonderful, wonderful stories. So I think we start first with Alice.
Hello again, everyone.
Alice, we can't hear you. You need to unmute.
Okay. Hello again, everyone. I would like to share my screen. Can Sophie share my screen, please? Sophie?
It's shared. We can see it.
Yeah, I have it shared.
Okay. Yes. My presentation is based on the cost of raising children and unemployment. I would like to talk about how a mother feels when she's unemployed and then yet she has to take care of the kids. Can we go to the second?
Second
Please
slide.
move to the second.
Okay.
Yes. Like I introduced myself earlier, I'm Alice from Tanzania, and I'm an activist for children and women's rights, and I live in the northern part of Tanzania, near Kilimanjaro. Some of you know Kilimanjaro. Yes. And I'm a mother of 3 children, both girls. All of them are girls. Let's move to another slide, please. Next slide. Sophie, can we move to the next slide? Yes.
Okay.
To talk about common challenges faced by women. As we all know, many of the women in Africa, especially East Africa, they are faced with similar challenges. Some of these challenges include health issues, marital issues, inheritance. These are just to mention just a few. And the most important is the financial difficulty that women face. In my country right now, there's a rising number of female graduates. The number has increased for female graduates, but most of these graduates, they fail to get employment, so they just stay at home and are unemployed. And some of these women, they fail to get capital to start their businesses, and they end up doing just menial jobs, or they find small capitals, just very small capital, and they have to start as hawkers or matching guys. But remember, these are graduates, but they lack jobs. Here I will talk about my own experience. I did my undergraduate course while I was working with a local human rights NGO here in my country. But ever since I graduated, I've been trying to look for a suitable job that matches my level of education, but it has been futile. The few interviews I got and few job offers I was given, they came with a very, very little pay. That's why I decided to keep my job as an administrator for the local NGO until my contract ended in December 2021. When my contract ended, I found myself unemployed and I was staying at home mom. As a mother, I love to see my children grow. I like to take care of them, but not working was really stressing me out. So I end up looking for jobs, but most of the jobs advertised are in another region from where I'm staying. So it was tough for me to just apply and decide to leave from my home and start somewhere else. So it was a struggle for me. Yes, sometimes, at times I was I was tempted to apply for these jobs in another region, but my husband is also working in another region. So it was a tough decision for me to make as a woman, as a mother, that I should just decide to go to another region. I will disturb the whole family setting because my husband is not also in this region. So as my search for job became futile, I decided to work remotely. I decided to work from home. Another slide. Another slide, Sophie, please. Yes, working from home is another opportunity that many women may want to try. It is an opportunity whereby you can work from home and yet you can take care of your family. But it comes with a challenge. You can see on the photo a woman, a mother working from home, but is distracted with her children. Maybe the children wanted help with the homework and the mother is working. So it comes with a challenge, but it's a good avenue for women to work from home. Yes, unemployment has brought me a step back because I could not contribute much to my family upkeep, and we all depend to my husband, and he's not earning much. So I had to look for alternative ways to gain a living. So after I searched online, I came upon opportunities to work online, and these opportunities have opened up a door whereby I can get an earning to help my family, to put something on the table. To sum it all up, I will suggest that female graduates and women should not just stay at home and say, I'm not employed and I don't have a job. Instead, they should look for opportunities to work online. The problem with this is the exposure. Most of the graduates are not exposed to these opportunities, especially in my country. They don't know that they can find opportunities to work online. Instead, they look for jobs where they can go to the office and come back home. So I urge women to look for other opportunities to work online or to open small businesses and advertise them online, open online shops. And this will help them support their children. Yes, this is the end of my presentation, and I thank you all for listening to my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alice. Now I invite Rehema.
Thank you. As I introduced myself earlier, I am Rehema Peter. I grew up in a family of 5 children, and me being the elder girl, closely supporting my mom with domestic work and everything related to women. Yeah. So I'm also a mother of 5, 4 of them being girls. My experience as a Tanzanian girl child and now a mother to a family of 5, is that I will talk about energy poverty. Energy poverty in Tanzania is, and most of actually in Africa and most of third world countries, is a serious challenge, because where I grew up, for example, sorry for the background. I grew up my family, we are staying in a small town close to Mount Kilimanjaro. My parents were just low income earners, so they couldn't afford cooking by using electricity. Though we were connected to national grid, but we couldn't afford the costs. The unit cost was too high, so we could only use electricity to light the home, not to cook. And so, as usual, we could use biomass fuel like firewood, charcoal, and dung. But oftentimes we could use firewood and charcoal. So I grew up in that setup, observing many women in my neighborhood and some of my relatives suffering from respiratory diseases, and a number of cases of women have been suffering throat and lung cancers. So oftentimes they will be asked if they are smoking or those kind of questions, but some they have never even smoked or taking alcohol. But if you look at the background, at the history, you find that they were using biomass fuel for cooking. And so even in my family now, as a mother of 5 and a climate justice activist, we try to create awareness, we try to promote renewable energy, but in reality, it is super expensive. For example, getting a gas cylinder and a cooking stove, it costs almost 3/4 of a low-income salary of a month. So you can see that it's very, very difficult for people to afford. So you find even the middle-class people, the working class, most of them, they still use biomass fuel for cooking since they can't afford clean cooking. And so in this presentation, I would like to argue and like to ask several in different organizations and institutions to, even in the government, to invest more on renewable energy, especially the cooking energy, so as to help women and girl children to rescue them from respiratory diseases, but save time for other issues like education and employment and other activities, because the energy poverty, oftentimes it leads also to gender inequalities, because in most cases, it's a mother and the girl children who will go to collect firewood. They are the one fetching water and all that. So there is a need for the government and different organizations to keep promoting renewable energy technologies, but also advocate for policy reforms so that clean cooking technologies can be affordable and accessible to all people, especially women in third world countries, especially. Yeah. But we are also facing another challenge here, that even when you can afford these kind of technologies, still the qualities of these kind of technologies coming to our countries is very poor. So that's why I'm saying we need to advocate for policy reform so that there will be strict measures to make sure that all the imported clean cooking technologies are of high quality, but also to invest and where possible for the government to subsidize so that the price can also be affordable for everyone. Another thing that I would like to share is to invest on creating awareness especially to the villages, because in some people they opt to use biomass technologies just as a custom, because they were born, they grew up in families using firewood, using charcoal. And so even when they can afford clean cooking technologies, still they don't prefer to go for that. So there is a need also to keep promoting and to keep providing education to our people so that they can diverse to clean energy. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rema, for talking about the idea of energy security. Now I would like to invite Rita to please make her presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rita Omondi. So I'll share my story of resilience in terms of adversity as an East African woman. So women in East Africa face, Sophia, can you expand the font kindly? Okay, it's okay. Women in East Africa face numerous challenges, including poverty, gender-based violence, and early motherhood, and limited access to education. Despite this hardship, they demonstrate remarkable strength, resilience, and determination to overcome obstacles and create meaningful lives. My story is one of the perseverance, survival, and home, a journey that has shaped me into the woman I am today. So I'll give my story of resilience in face of my adversity and how I overcame the challenges that came along my life. So my name is Rita Omondi. I was born on 1st November 1999 in a village called Siaya, in Siaya village. It's a county in the Nyanza province. I was born by a mother who was just 17 years old, just immediately after O-levels education. She was the firstborn in a family of 8 siblings. So you can imagine someone giving birth and she's a firstborn without a job. You can imagine the disappointment in the parents and also their younger siblings. Though despite everything that happened, my grandfather took up the responsibility of accepting me and my mother as part of his family. So he took up the responsibility of taking my mother to the hospital and making sure that she gave birth to me safely. Later on in life, my mother got married to someone else because definitely that was teenage pregnancy. So we moved to Nairobi because when you're married, you move to join your husband. So we moved to Nairobi. My mother gave birth to my stepsister. Though the marriage was not good, my stepfather was toxic. He was abusive. He was an alcoholic, and on several occasions, we didn't sleep at home. Though that did not make us be where we are today. So despite the challenges, my mom decided to leave that marriage. So we were taken back to the village with my sister so that she can stabilize herself back in Nairobi. Sophia, kindly move downwards. So this was in 2006 in 2006, we came back to Nairobi when my mom was stable in December. Unfortunately, in 2007, July, she passed away. Though it was a blessing in disguise. To me, I feel like it was a blessing in disguise. Despite the death, to me, it was a blessing, but new blessings came into my life. So my mom saved up some money. I really wanted to go to a boarding school because my stepfather didn't take up the responsibility of taking me to school. And I used to see kids going to a boarding school. They were bright. I could watch on the TV. So I also wanted to go to a boarding school. So my mom saved up some money and I joined a boarding school. And through determination, I wanted to be successful. I worked so hard and I performed well in my primary school. So in secondary school, I got a scholarship through the Wings to Fly program. It's under Equity Bank, though there are many organizations that sponsor students. So I was under the USAID. I was sponsored under the USAID. So when you join a scholarship program through the Wings to Fly, you're given mentorship, you are paid for school fees, you're paid for transportation, you're given pocket money. So to me, this was a blessing. So I worked hard so that I could not disappoint the organization. And they also helped shape me because when we were on holidays, we could come for conferences in Nairobi. We meet different students facing the same challenges. So to me, that was a blessing. So I finished my secondary school. Hopefully I performed well. And when you perform well, you are among the best top performing students in your county. Equity employs you as you wait to join your university. So this helped me save up pocket money and also school fees for my university. So during my long holidays, I could go to Equity and work, save up my pocket money and my rent for school and my clothing, because being born in a village, my grandfather was a retired teacher. My mother died in 2007. The next month, my grandfather retired. So there was no money back in the village to support my school fees. So it was me to work hard so that I can support myself in school and everything. So I definitely worked hard. I never had so much time for social life because I had to make my dream come true. I graduated in procurement and supply chain management, and immediately I graduated, Equity again employed me. They were my first employer as a customer service officer. So through this story, there's a lot of resilience I faced in life, but that did not break me to be where I am. So through my story, the suggestions I would love to emphasize on is education. There are many poor children, there are many orphans back in the village who are very bright students, but they don't have the opportunity to get education. I can imagine myself back then, if I didn't get the opportunity to get the scholarship by the Wings to Fly, where could I be now? Maybe we could have not even met on this panel, but through being empowered by education, I equalized myself with the rich kids, with people who got the advantage to go to school, with people who their parents could afford to take to school. So I advocate so much for education for those kids who are in the village and can't afford school fees, because education sometimes it's an equalizer for everyone. When you are determined to work hard, you will equalize yourself with people who got the advantage of going to school. So where you are, sometimes you are going to give a poor child food, you're going to give them clothing, but maybe they just need education. Because you can give them food they will eat that day. What of the future? What key are you giving this child for the future? It's education. This child one day can work hard and become somewhere that you are proud of. Currently, even if Equity looks at me or other children who are sponsored by us, because there are many cases, there are many young girls and very young men who are sponsored through the same program, and we've all come out to be good people, or we are able to sustain ourselves financially at the moment. So through education, you can empower a child. So sometimes everyone who is here, when you want to empower someone, I would encourage you to empower someone through education. It will help that person than just giving them money. Empower them through education. Another thing, through my story of resilience, I will encourage many people to advocate, to educate young women to leave toxic relationships and toxic marriages. It's never too late to start over again. You can always start over and get a new marriage, be loved again, instead of staying in a very toxic environment and giving kids a very toxic environment. So you can always walk away. Advocate for many young girls to always walk out when it's not working out. Also, we can encourage other young women to know their value. When they are still in secondary school, you can tell them that you need to first go to school, you need to to graduate, then you can look for an husband. I'm not trying to maybe brush off my mother, but giving birth at 17 years, maybe it wasn't the right decision because she died at 27 years. So you can imagine she was my age, my age died. She died at my age. I'm almost becoming 27. So because she entered in a toxic marriage and frustrations of life, you can end up into depression and die. So that's the end of my presentation. I would love you, wherever you are, think about this. What impacts are you bringing to the community? Are you educating them? Advocate for education for young girls and people who are orphans, because that is the only key that can equalize them with other people. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Rita. I really like the last line about East African women being, fighters, survivors, and leaders. So we go on to our next leader, and that is Valerie.
Hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Valerie from Kenya. And here is my friend, Henry, that is my story. Okay, being raised in a polygamous family, I faced many hardships as a child of my father's last wife, while my father mostly prioritized my step-siblings and my step-mom. So it was so hard for us to tell him something, and he could rarely do it. Despite financial and the emotional challenges, the sacrifices that my mom made towards us really shaped us. I grew up in a polygamous family where my father had 4 wives and my mother was the last wife. Many believe that children from the last wife are not valued or prioritized. In our household, we were 4 siblings and I was the second one. Despite my father having the financial means to support our education, he only funded my siblings, leaving my mother to struggle to pay school fees for us, me and my sisters. And also, in terms of our health, whenever we fell sick, they couldn't chip in to pay for the bill. So most of the expenses that we needed, the basic things, food, clothes, everything, was our mom. Because our mom took us to a boarding school when we were still very young to join a boarding school from class 1. Because she couldn't afford to pay the house help, and also she didn't want us to face the harsh environment of our home. There were a lot of domestic violence. In school, my sister and I, we really worked hard because we saw how mom could really struggle with us. And we could really perform well in school. And when school could close, we could go back home and proudly tell our dad how we really performed well. Only for my dad to say that we won't perform well every day because in the next class we'll meet brighter students than you. These words will really discourage us with my sister, but mom kept on pushing us to work hard. After finishing my primary school, I scored 53 marks. The marks that could not take me to my dream school. I dreamt of going to a national school. My dad could proudly say that she will not join that dream school because she has not performed well. Fortunately, I managed to join my dream school, Bunore Girls High School, where I really did my best. And in the last year of doing my national examination, my dad again refused to pay my school fees. After accepting to keep me in high school, in the form for the last year, he refused to pay my school fees. And now I was really stressed out because it's my final exam. Why am I not going to do this exam? Lucky enough, mom kicked in and paid my school fees. I performed really well and joined the university, where also the 4 years were really not easy for me because that moment that I could call my dad to request for school fees, rent, he could speak to me harshly and tell me that you think you're the only child that I have. You'll suffer in life. You will not even get a job after finishing your campus. This didn't make me not work hard. I did my best, and after that, I really performed well, scored second class honors, where after that, I went back home. The environment was not really friendly to me because the words were harsh. They were really laughing at me. I went to school, I graduated, but see yourself now, you don't have a job. This made me to walk around to look for young girls whom I also knew their stories they were being discouraged, their parents do not support them. And in the near neighborhood, we have a community library where I talked to the managers there to give me a chance to always have some sessions with the children, with the young girls. I always have some sessions with them where I teach them on the importance of education, whereby I also talk with the managers to give the children chance to have access to the book and also to go with the books at home where they charge a fee. But they reduced the fee for the young girls because I requested to work with them. I also teach them the basic skills on computer, whereby the community library also charges. They charge us $10 per month because we use their computers and the internet. So mostly, I'm always not at home. I'm in Nairobi to hustle my way out so that I can find some funds to support the young girls so that they can have access to the book and also to have access to the computer skills. Where I work in Nairobi, they do encourage me to continue empowering girls, and also they do support me financially so that whenever I go home, I encourage young girls on the importance of education so that their future can be better. And that's my story.
Thank you, Valerie. It was really inspiring to hear of not only your resilience, but also your mother's support throughout. And thank you for sharing your experience with us. So I now call Stephanie to please share her experiences.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hello, Valerie.
Well,
Stephanie, we can hear you.
Okay, fine. Well, I'm Stephanie Odero from Kenya. Currently, I live in Rodikopany, Homa Bay County. Well, just like Rita said before, Kenya being one of the among the East African countries, and as it is well known, it is among the third world countries. This even makes it worse for women to make both ends meet. Simply because of the ills women face, like poverty, unemployment, gender-based violence, early pregnancies, etc., etc. Regardless, women embrace the journey of resilience to paint the face of the society. I have a lot of stories of resilience. That one that touches my life the most is what I want to share with you right now. I would term it as an unwanted pregnancy. Well, 2 years down the line, just after my campus, after I had graduated from the university for bachelor's education, of course, I've been unemployed from that time to today. As we speak, I'm still unemployed. Well, I came to realize just after my graduation, I think a month after, that I was expectant. This took me with a great shock because one, I was unemployed. I had no source of income. I didn't know how I could pick up this journey and start. Well, I went to the hospital, had some tests after I'd missed my periods. Then I came to realize that I was expectant. Oh my God. It took me 2 weeks to accept the fate that I was expectant. I could not share with anyone, being the firstborn in our family. Usually as a firstborn child, you are like a co-parent to the others. They look up to you. Maybe they expected after school I would get job and maybe support these other little ones. I could not even share with my parents the situation. So I shared with my sister. She later, after months, I told her not to share with my mom, being that she's diabetic, had pressure. So the situation will put her into deep thoughts, and I didn't want that. So I kept quiet. until around 16 weeks. At 16 weeks, when I was going for my prenatal clinic, the nurse insisted that your situation, no. According to how we've palpated you, your pregnancy is not normal. We are requesting you go for a scan. And all these processes you are going to, well, prenatal clinics are assumed to be free. For me, every time I went for clinics, I was using money. That then I was not employed. I have no source of money. So friends will source money or will contribute for all this process. So at 16 weeks, I went to the clinic. Then the nurse suggested I was supposed to go for a scan. When I went for the scanning, only the results came out that I had twins, another double tragedy. Oh my God, how was I going to do to manage all this situation? I sat on the scanning bed with a lot of disbelief because I didn't know how to start. Like, how was I going to handle this situation? I'm jobless. Like, how? Well, I didn't believe the results. I said no. They called another radiologist. The second radiologist came, did another scan. The results just came out like the first one. I had twins. I walked out of the hospital so confused, just boarded a motorbike to my place. I slept the whole day without eating because it was a double tragedy. I didn't even call anyone then because I was just imagining how I could break the news to my sister and to my mom. So this was the first time I was breaking this news to my mom because the burden was now becoming too worse on my side. So I could not even call her. I wrote a message to her. I thank God she took the message positively. And from then, she made me embrace it. Now I embraced it and accepted that, well, I'm expecting twins. From then, the journey wasn't easy at all. Being a primary gravida, to mean like your first pregnancy, you are bearing twins, this is something too special even for the hospitals. So they had to put great care on me. And the great care meant I would get for prenatal clinics on, off. Like a week would not end before they called me for some checkups or so. Going for those checkups, you had to pay. They were so expensive because they would be doing scans every time to get the heartbeats of the kids. Are they in the right position? Well, I embraced myself and I accepted the fate. So I took every step they wanted me to do. At around almost 9 months, at 37 weeks, where I was going for the clinic was a sub-county hospital. So they told me, no, we can't handle your situation. We are going to refer you to a referral hospital. So I was referred to a referral hospital on the day that, I think it was around in the evening. I saw some stains of blood. And during that process, all that while until the 9 months, I was traumatized. So I used to Google everything that appears on me strange, I would Google. So I'd Googled before and saw it. One sign of labor being almost is that you would see maybe stains of blood. So I called my mom and she sent somebody to come and pick me immediately. Going to because I had to report to the sub-county hospital before I'm guided to get to the referral hospital. The sub-county hospitals, most of them, almost all, the facility is not able to handle a CS delivery. We got to the hospital around by 5. By 4 hours at the hospital, following all the process. McHugh, I'm due. I've started getting labor pains. I go to the hospital at 5. The ambulance, we were to take the ambulance. The ambulance is also not free. We had to pay 2,000 shillings, which was not readily available by then. The ambulance had to take me to the referral hospital. And to make matters worse, the ambulance did not go directly to the referral hospital. We were going to another facility, a sub-county hospital again, far from where I was, to pick another woman who had been in labor for 3 days and had not delivered. Oh my God. In my life, I had never known that even in an ambulance, patients can be carried at the co-driver's seat. I've always known that patients are usually taken at the back. On this day with a twin pregnancy, I had to sit at the co-driver's seat. I was so unstable, so stressed because I didn't know the outcome. So I was even telling my mom, I left my mother crying. Unfortunately, when I was boarding the ambulance, they supported me. I sat on the co-driver's seat. I left her crying. This made my pressure to shoot, because I was like, what is the outcome? I'm the firstborn in this family. My mother expects a lot from me. Then I told myself as we were going, let whatever happens, happen. If I die, well. If I come back safe, well. So we went to the sub-county hospital where we were going to pick another patient. Maggie, we left this other sub-county hospital at around 5. I reached the referral hospital at around 7, only to get to the theater by 9:30. So you can tell me, in between this period, if it were not God, I would have passed. In between the period, the gynecologist who was supposed to attend to me was not around. So we had to wait. I was taken to the theater. Whoever received me by the door was so drunk. I saw death. But I had to be strong for myself and for the babies. So we went, I was taken to the theater. My pressure shot because of all the stress that I've been having all through. They left me aside for around 20 minutes to stabilize my pressure, after which the C-section was done. By around 10:45, I was even keen because I think I was half dead. The upper part, I could see everything. They could communicate with me, the gynecologist and all the nurses who were taking care of me at the theater. We could talk. But the other side of the body, from the waist to the downside of the body, was so heavy, so heavy. I was even told, lift your legs up. I could not do anything. Well, at this time, I was not alone. I was with my sister who accompanied me. So I was getting a little bit some strength. I left the theater at around 10:45. Then I was taken to the resting room because you are not taken back to the wards immediately. That was around 10:45 p.m. at night. Then I left the theater the following day at 11 with my 2 babies. I thanked God because I never knew I could get out of this situation alive. I left the hospital after 3 days because if you undergo C-section, you leave the hospital after 3 days. After they've seen you are stable, you can at least walk. I left the hospital after 3 days, and according to our culture, unfortunately, people from my place still subscribe to culture. I could not stay with my mom then, so I went to stay with my aunt, the sister to my mom. So 3 weeks after I had left the hospital, the other one died. The second twin died. Ethan died 3 weeks after I left the hospital. So what brought back all the pain I've had, the kid was just okay. He never showed me even any sign of fever or anything. The surviving one that I have today was the one who would have fevers on, off. But the other one had never shown me any sign of fever. But I saw like the body was kind of deteriorating. So I was like, no, I'm going for my C-section next week. Probably I'll get to see a pediatrician to see the boy. Well, before even next week, the following week on Tuesday, that I was supposed to go back for my C-section clinics, that following day, I woke up to a cold, lifeless body. To date, I do not know what killed my son because I just woke up to a cold, lifeless body. I've never healed. Even as we speak right now, I've never healed. I didn't have any financial support to do maybe a postmortem to know whatever killed my son. Because as we speak, even currently, the surviving one, we are always off the hospital with unemployed parents. You can see how difficult it is. Just last week, the boy has been coughing for a whole month now. I took him to the hospital. We were told we now have to see a pediatrician. So seeing a pediatrician in a public hospital, you book the pediatrician today, you see the pediatrician 2 weeks from now. Suppose it was something that would even kill the child, then you definitely count the child no more. So we were told another option is to get a pediatrician from a private hospital. So private hospital, seeing a specialist in a private hospital, very, very expensive. We cannot afford. Luckily, we got a friend who chipped in and booked for us a pediatrician. The pediatrician was seen. So when we saw the pediatrician, we did some tests. After that, the test came out that the boy has bronchitis and allergy of the nose. As we speak, there are some medications that we need to get for the boy we cannot afford. The boy needs a spacer, a mask spacer with a spacer mask. We cannot afford it. To make matters worse, the region where we are, people still subscribe to traditions. So we are fighting in between hospital and traditions. Personally, I clicked to the hospital because already the pediatrician had diagnosed the boy with bronchitis and allergy of the nose. The problem now is we cannot afford, because as we are speaking, barely 2 days ago, the boy had fever again. We ran to the public hospital. The boy has malaria. The boy is on off. So I don't know. It could be there is some underlying factor that we still do not know, and we cannot afford to get a specialist. At one point, we went to the referral hospital. They are requesting we go do a sickle cell test at the referral hospital. Yeah. So that story of mine made me so bold. I picked up myself, because even as we speak right now, I'm jobless. I have no source of money. I just pick small vegetables from people I sell to get money to sustain the boy, because at least maybe I would rather miss to eat, but I get him his basics, which he doesn't even get all his basics. For as long as he's surviving, I'm okay. So this story made me so bold, made me see myself as a resilient person, and it has been used even to other people. And today, this is what made me advocate for mental health of other women. Suppose I was not emotionally intelligent, I think I would have even thought of killing myself or something, but I've never thought of that. I'm still very optimistic. All shall be well. Yeah, all shall be well. I'll get a way of supporting this boy financially. I've even gone further to online, like my other friend from Tanzania was saying, women can get jobs from Tanzania. I graduated with Bachelor of Education Arts, English Language and Literature. I'm a teacher of English Language and Literature by profession, but not in the profession at the moment, because I've not been employed. So I've even been looking for these online sites where I can coach English as a second language, but to no avail. So we have to survive like that. But I'm happy my story has motivated some. Just last week, there was a lady who was taken at the chief's camp, that the lady wanted to commit suicide because she was expectant, does not have necessities for the baby, and she's due in the next 2 months from now. So I was called to talk to the lady, because it's not the first story I'm attending to. My story was used like an example in the community where I am, so I usually talk to them, and I'm glad. The 4 of them that I've talked to, 3 have given birth and are taking care of their kids well, in as much as they're taking care of their kids in hardship. The lady who is supposed to give birth in the next 2 months, I got friends here and there. We've collected some few necessities that she'll use, because when you get to these public hospitals, initially people would be given a receiving sets. The clothes, the newborns will be given, Pampers, oil, and all those, the basics. Lately, they don't give, so you have to get them for yourself. So we've tried our best. We've gotten them for the lady, and we are hoping for the best in the next 2 months. So currently, I advocate for women's mental health due to what I went through. And again, I also advocate on menstrual hygiene. This is simply because from class 1 to campus, I went to high school. I was in a boarding school, so I didn't have time to associate with my parents. And psychologically, a child will literally learn from whoever he or she is staying with. And especially at a tender age, the child will literally copy whatever he or she gets from the person he or she is staying with. So when I was in a boarding school as early as class 1, we didn't even have time with my mom to tell me this. You at one point will experience menstrual flow and all that. I had no one to enlighten me about this. So upon reaching class 5, I was 2 years, still young and naive. I didn't know anything. There I was having my first menstrual flow. I was shocked. I didn't know where to start from. And you just know, in primary schools, you'd speak of such like things to your classmates, they literally laugh at you. We end up being losing our self-esteem, you be shy all the time. So when this happened to me, I just hid myself somewhere, took a pad, because my mom now knew at this age you need to have these sanitary towels with you, but never taught me anything about this. I got to learn it with time. So on this day that I had my first menstrual flow, I didn't even get to class. I was just alone. Then I took the pad. Whether I did put it the right way or not, I don't know, provided I did not flow on my uniform, but I did put it by myself. So with time, I got to learn, because I happened to associate now with those in the upper classes, class 8 and above, class 6, 7, 8. Now they knew how to do it, how to wrap their pads after that. So whatever happened to me, I had never wanted it to happen to any child. As we speak, where I am, I'm in a village setup, and there are so many primary schools near me. So on the weekends, Saturdays, because they are free, Saturdays and Sunday, we meet at a nearby church. We discuss, I teach them on how to put on their pads, how to wrap it after using it, and the duration in which they should be using this pad. They should be changing their pads, like after every 2 hours. But the problem now is, in the village setup right now, they cannot afford to get these sanitary towels.
Stephanie, I'm
my
so sorry
presentation.
to interrupt you here. Would you be able to wrap up your presentation in maybe a minute or two, because we have the other speakers also waiting. I'm sorry
I
to
think that
interrupt.
I think that's the end of my story. In case anyone has a question or want to reach me, I'll put my contacts on the chat and my email. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It was quite touching to hear your story, and I'm very sorry to hear about the loss of your son, and also your second son, who's going through health issues right now. So I do hope that he recovers soon and you get all the help that is needed. So next up, we have from Uganda, Prossey, who would be presenting.
Hello, everyone. My name is Prossey. I am a primary school teacher, as I told you. I focus on making sure that we have safe learning spaces for children, and especially I give special attention to the girls because I know what it means. Education is the foundation of all we do in life. It shapes who we are and what we aspire to be. I really relate a lot with that statement. Because of education, I am who I am today, according to the story you're going to see. Because I focus on creating safe learning environments for children, I know what it means not to have a safe environment. As someone who found peace in school, as someone who found comfort at school, as someone whose confidence was built while at school, I know the power of a safe learning space. I grew up in a small village of Buyoga. I grew up with my great-grandparents and grandparents. For people who hear the phrase that it takes a village to raise a child, I am a testimony to that. I was raised by a village. And while I was in the village, a lot of things happened during my childhood. My parents were not there. I lost my dad when I was 6, and my mom was looking for money to take care of us while we stayed with our grandparents. So school was the best place for me. Each time I was at school, I was okay and I was safe. While I was safe at school, and I started and completed the education, it doesn't mean that I didn't face challenges. There were so many barriers to my education, and those barriers are the same barriers many girls in my community face. There were too many domestic responsibilities for me. For example, you wake up very early in the morning, you have to first do housework, and then you walk to school. And then after school in the evening, you come back, you still have to do a lot of housework. So like, it didn't create enough time for me either to concentrate on books and also to get enough time to rest. At a certain point in 2008, after my national examinations, I dropped out of school. And while I was a dropout for the 2 years I was out of school, life was the hardest. Those 2 years taught me that without proper education, I can't be anything in this world. And that is when I realized that without education, there's no way forward for me. So I chose to go back to school, and I was able to graduate and I became a teacher. When I went back to school, I had a different mindset. Initially, I was going to school because, of course, there's going to school. But when I went back to study the profession of being a teacher, I went with a different perspective because I wanted to see that many children get good education. And also when they go to school, they find teachers that they can love, teachers who can help them get the support they need, the support they cannot get at home. So in my career as a teacher, my philosophy has always been to make a difference in the lives of the children that I teach. I go by that philosophy every day because teachers helped me when I was at school. Among others, there were other barriers, like there were limited access to educational resources. I was a very curious student. I wanted to learn a lot, but I didn't have enough resources. And in my community, there was no place I could go to find extra materials to read, extra materials to support me. So that was a big challenge. There wasn't even a place I could go and say, let me go and revise my books. Let me go and do extra revision, because there was no place to do that. And at home, it wasn't possible because by the time you finish doing all the housework, it is already night time and you have to wait until you go to school the next day. So as I was in the career, I realized safe spaces are important. As my career grew, everything was moving on great, and then COVID-19 came and it was not so good. Schools were closed for a very long time. And then one day I saw many children in the community that were so idle. They didn't have what to do. While I got books to read for my daughter on the veranda, many children came up and then they could come to join me. And then by the time weeks ended, many children could come in the evening to read stories with me. That's when I realized we needed a library. So I had to start a home library. We ran out of books. We had to start looking for more books for other children. I outsourced the books from different organizations and different friends. And that's how I started the first community library. When schools resumed, the library continued to operate for weekends and holidays until in 2023, when I went to my village. And as I was walking in the community, I remembered how it felt to be in the community. I wondered how other children are coping when they cannot find enough reading materials. I wondered how other children are coping when they cannot find a safe space to learn. And then I needed to do a library in my village. So in 2023, I set up another community library in the village. To me, a library is not just books. It is a safe space for learning. It is a space for mentorship and a space for empowerment. We don't just give books, but it is an opportunity for academic support and emotional safety. So while I run those community libraries, to me, I believe that we need to support the girls through education, but not just thinking that libraries are just books. No, they are safe spaces where girls can express themselves, where girls can build their confidence, where girls can get the right information, where they can find someone to talk to in case they are troubled. So I believe that it is all our duty to create safe spaces for girls to learn, to dream, and also achieve. Thank you so much for listening to my story.
Thank you, Prossey. Yeah. So definitely we'll have some questions about the community library, but we move on to our last presenter for today, Maggie or Margrate.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hope you can hear me. So I'm here to share about the challenges faced by women in Uganda and my personal story of resilience. My name is Margrate Ntambi. I'm a member of Service International, specifically affiliated with the National Group of Service Uganda. So as an advocate for the future of the girls, child, and the underprivileged women, I'm here to highlight some few challenges faced by women in Uganda and my personal story of resilience amidst those challenges. Women in Uganda face multiple challenges that hinder their full participation in society, economic growth, and personal development. These challenges are rooted in cultural, economic, legal, and social factors. I'll point out those I find the most pressing one: gender-based violence and domestic abuse. Uganda has the high rates of domestic violence, which is associated with sexual harassment and human trafficking. There is a challenge of limited access to education. This has been pointed out by everyone, by all the presenters. But in Uganda, this is specifically due to a number of reasons, like high school fees in Uganda. It hinders very many to quality education. There is a government arrangement of free education, but here we are looking at quality education. These have led many families to withdraw their children from schools. Factors like arranged marriages, teenage pregnancy, poverty, and lack of menstrual hygiene facilities also force many girls to leave school. There is a challenge of economic inequality and financial exclusion. Many women in Uganda lack access to land ownership and financial resources. What does that mean? They are not able to acquire loans to start up something. There is a challenge of high violation of widows' rights. This is particularly due to their eviction from marital homes. So it becomes worse if a woman doesn't have children with the husband. Even if that woman contributed a certain percentage to their development, the moment their husband dies, they will be evicted. So despite the legal protection, many widows in Uganda are forcibly removed from their homes after the death of their husbands. And this is often done by the in-laws who claim ownership of the property. There is a challenge of limited health care and high maternal mortality rates. So the poor access to quality maternal health care leads to high mortality rates during childbirth. Many rural women travel long distances to reach healthy facilities. And as a result, some of them end up even giving birth, either in public taxis, the public transport, along the way, things of a sort. I'll relate my story, my personal story, to the above challenges. And here is my life journey. It's a long story, but I'll make it short. I was born in a village found in Luwel district. This village is just 30 miles from the capital city of Uganda, Kampala. However, due to limited access to healthy facilities, my mother could not afford to go to the hospital. I was born from home. When I jokingly say that I was born from a mango tree. So this lack of medical care significantly contributes to the high maternal mortality rates in the country. For example, my mother gave birth to 8 children, but only 6 of us grew up. So when it came to medical needs, we relied on home remedies for treatment. By home remedies, that is picking grass, different plants, and either make juice out of it or boil to get medicine. That was the situation. Growing up, our family standard of living was modest. My father, may his soul rest in peace, had 2 wives. You will see them below. And both of them shared the same 4-bedroomed house, together with their 12 children. That is from both wives. Facilitation was not easy in terms of beddings, mattresses, etc. We used to make our own mattresses from grass. I don't know whether someone has ever heard. I know our fellow Africans could have an idea about that, to get beds. However, as children, we contributed significantly to the household income by providing labor, which accounted for 50% of household income, since our parents were peasant farmers. This is